What's up, men? Welcome to the Male Cartel podcast. Let's get started.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just going to be honest.
It's okay to be fat.
Dispelling toxic masculinity and really redefining what it means to be a man. Men can cry. So it's okay to be weak. It's okay to be weak.
I'm telling you right now, not everybody wants to see you win.
You seem to be more woman than you are man. You don't have any manly qualities.
You give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay, it's necessary. How are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Be a dangerous man. Being dangerous is not being a threat. They're two different things. You can't be a good man if you're not a dangerous man. You say one disrespectful thing to my wife, I am not only willing, but I'm able to inflict great bodily damage.
I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor and not a victim. I can't explain it, but you better feel me. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Here's your host, Nick and Shane.
Hey, we back like I run them back. What's up?
Man, it's been 3 weeks since we recorded.
Yep, 21 days. Habits form in 21 days, you know?
Yeah, a lot going on, but grateful to be back.
Yeah, man.
Had a good Easter.
Too.
Had a lot going on building up to it. How's things been going for you?
Man, good, dude. Yeah, Easter was great. Really, really good.
I thought you were going to say grit.
It was
grit.
It was grit. You know, I'm making my own slang up. We were off air talking about the slang next gen and Gen Z or whatever. You know, they it's funny how things like even the word cool. Hey man, that's cool. Man, he's cool.
What'd you say now? It's like
it's cold, bro.
It's cold.
Man, he's so cold.
And for us, we're like, oh, it's cold. We need a jacket.
That's right. We're like, hold up. Can't you just do something opposite, like really far away from it, then it would sound cooler? Versus, but like cap just means like you're lying, but we call cap like somebody's about to like shoot you, bust a cap. So yeah,
right.
Everything's good.
Yeah, back in the day, that's what that meant.
That's right. I told a kid the other day. I say, man, you straight? How's everything? And they were like, oh yeah, no homo. I was like, I'm not talking about being a homo, bro. I was just like, are you straight? I was talking to my seniors Sunday at church. Seniors, not senior citizens, but like senior students. And I said, hey,
you got to differentiate.
I know. And I said,
call them the silver hairs.
Yeah, the silverbacks.
The silverback.
I said, hey, what y'all know good? And they just looked at me, bro. They didn't know what was happening. I said, like, what y'all know good? And a young lady, she's awesome. She's gonna be our summer intern. She says, oh yeah, my granddaddy says that. And I was like, your granddaddy's cool. But yeah, we listen, I flag football. You didn't know you don't know this. Our audience may not know this, but I'm coaching my son's flag football. Our team is called the Gators. And we're 3-0.
3-0 now. Last I saw was 2.
2. And then last night we won 39-0.
Wow.
Could have beat them worse. But we had two interceptions run back for touchdowns and then another interception. And my boys did good. And
who did y'all beat this week?
We beat the Tar Heels. So far we beat the Tar Heels. We beat the Bulldogs 33-13. And then we beat man, I don't know who we played against.
Razorbacks?
Razorbacks. That's right. We beat Razorbacks.
Wasn't that your former name?
That was. And then I did a trade. I traded teams. I traded everything, dude. I was trading players. But the best team, we'll find out who so I'm 3-0. The Gators are 3-0. The Sooners are 3-0. And then the Hurricanes are 3-0. The only teams that are undefeated left in the league. 15-team league. And so the Hurricanes and the Sooners, they play Thursday.
Okay.
Then Friday, we play against the Gamecocks. We should spank them.
Yeah.
If all our people show up, we should beat them. And I really want to drop 50 on a team. And the way we do it, though, we have a stud. We have a kid on our team. He's just we can hand the ball to him literally every time. Besides the zones where you have to throw. And if he had 10 totes, I mean, we would score at least 50% of the time, maybe 60, 70% of it. He's faster than me. He's 10, and so he's a beast. And but we only give him 5 touches a game, whether it's passing or anything, because we want to develop our other players. The goal is not for me to have some kind of like trophy at the end of the season, not for the players. I want the players all to have, chances at running back. And then we're really making our defense the best defense. And then offense, we're doing a lot of subs and substitution. Defense, I only have one position that I'll flex people in. Other than that, all 6 of the 7 positions is locked in. We're going to win on defense.
Defense wins championship.
That's what I told him even last night. I told him that never again am I going to ever respond to them asking middle of the game, hey, coach, what's the score? Hey, coach, what's the score? I said, it's not going to happen. You guys are worried about the score. You should be worried about the football game. I'll tell you the score. Just trying to build that culture. And but my little girl on our team, her name is Grace. Bro, she is the cutest on the planet. She looks just like if I'll show you a picture like towards the end of the season we have a team photo. She looks just like Haley.
Oh, really?
And she is just the cutest little bebop. She smiles at everything, and she's fast. And she's the cutest button. And so she got a carry last night, and she went about 20 yards.
Nice.
And then she came straight to me and handed me the ball. I was like, there's nothing I can
what
do
do
with
I
it.
do?
And I patted her head, and I told her I was so proud. Middle of the whole game. The clock is going down. But
I told you the strategy with her. Get her to start winking at the defense.
That's right.
They'll be distracted, and then she just take it off.
My boys are like that. They're my youngest.
Like,
Sawyer,
hey.
he's kind of smitten with her a little bit. He's like, is it okay if I think she's pretty? I was like, yeah, bro.
He's stepping his game up.
Cute. Sawyer, he's so cute, man. He's so nice to everybody.
Don't be like, step game up.
Yeah, he almost had an interception last night, and then he almost knocked down a pass. He had one good running play. And my Andrew, we haven't even gotten a sack for the season yet, but him and another guy will blitz as linebackers in our defense. And then he did so good. He came up again to try to block the pass. And I said, bro, just pull the flag, man. He had the easy 3 sacks last night, but he did catch a really good ball that was overthrown. And so, and he had a really good pull on probably their best run. And so, but
speaking of, what were you gonna say?
No, that's it, man. That's really been the thing other than, church, like Easter type of thing, and us going to Duke's.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Speaking of Gamecocks, we went to Duke's, had a feast. Our first video. I don't know what happened there, but it was like crazy grainy. But Fisher, my nephew, who is a member of the Male Cartel, he listens. He told me, he said that he spoke to you, I guess, and you saw the Carolina, because he takes photos for the Carolina team. He's got a press pass and doing really well, showing a lot of maturity and growth in his photography. Yeah, does some writing for the Sports Illustrated, I think, blog type thing with some of the fan base. And so he'll go and take photos. He got to go to the Georgia game. Stanford Stadium got press passes to get on the field to take photos. Yeah. So doing a great job. Well, when he saw our video, he said, I didn't know. He said that was the Big Sur Spur or something like that. That is they carry the actual real Gamecock to the Gamecock games. So, they got the one in the costume. But then they've got one that they carry around in a cage, kind of like Uga.
Yeah, they carry the chicken.
Yeah, the chicken, the yard bird. And he said that's the actual people who own the bird and take it to the game.
Oh,
so
man.
we're dogging out the mascot owners.
And they heard everything.
Oh, they heard us. Yeah,
everything.
What people didn't see on camera, the truck pulls up as the camera goes off, as the video goes off, and then they're doing the whole spurs up little. Hand wave thing, which is kind of feminine. And so it's like hang 10, dude. That's what it looks like, is the hang 10 kind of surfer kind of guy. But I just said back to them, go dogs, and they pulled off.
That's exactly
So
right.
They were like, yeah, we can't compete.
What about you? What's up?
Man, had a good bit going on. Easter, we had a great Easter here at, speaking of Easter at Hope Church, I tried to kill off Corell by accident. Yeah,
Was
like
you
in service. So have you seen the different things where people will stage their dead loved ones? Like if they love their motorcycle, riding motorcycles, they'll take the body and stage it on a motorcycle. Or if they were a boxer, they'll put them in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
And so I was using that as an illustration of like Jesus being crucified and how certain the disciples were that not only Jesus was dead, but that he was, all hope was lost. You know, everything they thought Jesus was going to be on earth, all hope was lost. And so I was showing these different illustrations saying, you know, if they believed Jesus was going to come back, they could have just staged him in the synagogue where he loved to teach and waited 3 days and, you know, he'd come back to life. So as I'm showing these illustrations, one guy playing a video game, one guy sitting in a chair, I said, Corell told me that he wanted to be staged at his keyboard. And then I went to say, basically, like, I look forward to honoring his last request, but I said I was saying I was looking forward to it. Like I look forward to him dying so that we could do this. Everybody erupted in laughter. I couldn't, I had to kind of like regain. That was not the angle I was going for. That definitely wasn't planned. It was just as I'm in the moment, I'm thinking, I see the keys because I'm turning to look at the video monitor. And then as I turn, I see his keys and I go, oh yeah, Corell. Cause we had talked about those setups before. So I was like, yeah, Corell wants to be staged at his keys. I look forward to being, I don't think his family appreciated that much. So
man,
yeah, but everybody died laughing. Then it was hard to recover after that. So
he's shaking his head now. Maybe what did he say? He said he don't want to be staged nowhere. You can't really hear Corell. Corell, do you want to be cremated? Or you've been like, you don't even care? You don't be propped up next to the jukebox type of thing? Joe Diffie?
I use that illustration.
Really? Yeah. Prop me up. I remember Weekend at Bernie's.
I used both of those illustrations. Well, Corell will be dead, and all I heard, I'm hard of hearing, was I don't care. So I heard when he dies, he doesn't care. And the truth is, he's dead, so he doesn't care. And so I think we should stage him at his keys, or maybe as like a setup like he's doing right now, to highlight the excellent skill that he has as a producer.
You know what I want to do? I just want to be burned up, made ashes, and then dig me in a hole, bro. Like, save about,
several $1,000
to $14,000. I'm thinking that. I mean, I'd rather give it to my grandchild. He could buy a car with that $12,000. I used the one.
You know what I want?
That's what I would do.
I want to be fed to a killer well. Remember the video I just showed you? That Joker was awesome,
dude.
He took out that great white.
Is that the segment we're going to get into first? Is that a transition?
No, but
no,
it can be.
I think it should be. So Nick explained what it is.
So I saw a reel pop up, and it was a killer whale taking out or killing a great white shark. And y'all know how big a great white shark is. Well, this Joker looked like it was a torpedo. That thing was so fast. I don't even think the killer, the great white, even knew what happened, and it took it out. And so you can just feed my body to a
like the orcas. I mean, they're like in the ocean. They're the apex predator. There's nothing that competes with them, but they're usually in groups. And I think that was the first time caught live where it's single. It's not them, like them as in like more than one, orca. It's usually more than one orca that's kind of trapping a shark. And
it's just one-on-one.
It's one-on-one, dude. He comes out like a torpedo and just destroys that great white.
I think the great white probably said something about his wife's tail fin or something.
Something like that, man.
I'll show you.
And then that was it. He was done. Yet apex predators for sure. That there was actually I saw a reel, And it was one of those, I call them junk reels. Be on Facebook, and it pops up, and it's like 4 across, and then I clicked on it, and it was talking about a bear versus a lion. So naturally, I'm intrigued.
Right.
And so I click on it, and you know what? And it really wasn't a fight. It looked like it was like a movie, and it was like somebody recorded it back in the 80s. But they call it a brown bear. But it wasn't a brown bear.
What kind of bear was it?
It was a sloth bear. They live in India with the tigers. Tigers eat sloth bears. That's Baloo. Baloo in Jungle Book is a sloth bear.
Yeah.
And then that's a tiger. And so, you know,
like Yogi, like they're
sloth bear is just. I mean, it's not a grizzly, bro.
Yeah,
it's not
it's not like something to fear.
Yeah, it's not the apex predator.
Right.
But a grizzly bear. So then I went into the comment sections, because that's what you do if you watch a reel or something. I just go straight to the comments and look at it. I was like, this is doo-doo. And I went to it and I looked at it, and people were like comparing, this is all a joke. And I was like, it is a joke. It is terribly a joke. But a grizzly bear or a polar bear or a Kodiak bear, whatever you want to, apex predator, it don't fear anything versus a tiger, as a beast of a tiger could be, literally, it will lose against them, because a cat is normally doesn't want to get hurt. You know what I mean? They'll do it and they'll attack right here, and then they back off. They don't want to get hurt. That's why they grab around the neck, they suffocate, they break the neck. That's kind of what they do. But they're naturally not going to do that. A bear, they don't care. You'll see 2 bears go at it.
Oh yeah,
boom,
yeah,
and then
tearing each other apart.
Yeah, and their fur is like 6 inches thick. Them jokers don't care, bro. They're gonna fight to the death.
Right.
Somebody's gonna submit. I mean, they're like, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin back in the wrestling days. They ain't gonna care. But I was like, man, a grizzly bear or a Kodak bear or a polar bear, man, that's something substantial.
I also heard a lion won't attack a wounded animal because it is a hunter, and that, you know, that's not its nature. Like just to go up to a hyena or something that's already injured, there's no hunt in that. There's no thrill and adventure. It's not in its nature. So while it needs to eat, it wants to hunt in order to eat. And I, you know, just among people and fighters, I saw a clip the other day about the different fighters, and it was talking about having the discipline of this one fighter. And I've seen several that do the same thing, but you know, you see the guys down and they jump on them and they're still pounding them and they're out. And it's like, come on, dude. But I understand you also see some of these where people come back and they're not knocked out. So they're making sure they're knocking them out. But there's a couple of fighters who, once they see them down, like, they'll stop.
That's right.
One even kind of kneeled and just waited and watched, because, you know, I guess he feels he's already dominant and the guy's down. He'd rather truly knock. If he gets back up, okay, we'll just go back at it. And I guess that's that lion nature.
That's
just
right.
like, if you're wounded, I'm not going to, you know, kick you while you're down. I'm not going to eat you while you're wounded. I want to hunt you.
Did you ever see that video? It was circulating with the young ladies were getting a big group fight, and then the one girl grabs the other girl and started banging. She did not turn to the ground, and she started slamming her head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Baltimore. And then she was unconscious, and she still went back over there to cause harm. And then old girl was in ICU, and then there was
she just came out of coma.
She did. And there was a gauntlet of people that kept on saying, like, she deserved it. It's no fair fight. Right. And you're going, hold up. I mean, like, there's nothing. I mean, you should get charged. I mean, she was already down. She was done. She was out. I mean, there's I think there's a rule. Different states have different rules, but it's the whole, when the threat has been immobilized. Right. You know what I mean? I think that's how you say it. Is stopped. Then that's it, man.
Well, and I think most states in that situation, you know, you have your stand your ground kind of laws. But that is one, like, the person, video shows they're incapacitated.
That's right.
They're no longer a threat.
That's right.
So you have no right to continue, you know, like, if it's in the heat of the moment, you know, I want to make sure the threat is neutralized.
That's right.
But at the same time, if I get up and the person's not moving, or they're convulsing like that one girl was, and then I go to kick them in the head or something like that, now that's different. You're trying to do bodily harm. And even in Georgia, with which you have castle law, you can, You know,
That's right.
you can kill to protect your property, your person, other people who are vulnerable. You cannot just like shoot to injure. You know, if you shoot someone, it's got to be to stop them because you're fearing of your life. You can't just like, oh, I'm going to shoot them in the leg. You know, you see that, well, the police could have shot them in the leg. No, that's not what you do. You shoot to stop because they're a threat. Because even if you shoot somebody in the leg, if they've got a knife or a gun, they can still do harm. And plus, you're not trying to injure someone. You're trying to stop a threat. So, yeah, people are, you know, when it comes to those laws, they're kind of ignorant. But you got a lot of ignorant people out there. It's like I was telling you about the guy who, you know, locally in Grovetown, where both of us, you serve there. I live in Grovetown. This is more in the city limits, where he stabbed his girlfriend, live-in girlfriend, and her son was sick with some rare disease, and he stabs them both, kills them, and then tries to cover it up with setting the house on fire. And then I guess he's trying to make it like he's trying to escape the fire or something. He gets stuck in the window. So when the police arrive, he gets caught. And, you know, and he looks like one of these, you know, thugs, I guess you would say. Yeah, I mean,
we just say a punk.
You just look at him and you're like, okay, you really don't care about yourself, much less probably anyone else.
That's right.
And so thankfully he's caught, but you just see that nature of people being, you know, displayed. But as guys, you know, it's just like, you know, oftentimes you see this, like, I don't know what happened. Apparently she was breaking up with him. He was abusive.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
And you're like, okay, then just break up. Why these people who kill, you know, is obviously an issue of control, but, you know, to kill someone, to bring harm to them because they're breaking up with you, you know, obviously there's something wrong in you that you can't let somebody break up with you, you know, without doing harm to them. Or these people who end up going into schools or workplace or whatever, shooting, you know, an ex-wife or whatever that might be. And it's like, just, you know, it'd actually be better if you just harmed yourself. You know, I'm not advocating for anyone to harm themselves, but why go harm them? Because ultimately they end up oftentimes committing suicide or something like that on the back end. So you took their life, but then, you know, I don't know what causes that in people. A need to be in control, narcissism. You know, I don't think a narcissist would hurt themselves, but it's just odd. It just shows the nature of people.
What did dude? Like you've seen those videos where some folks get like let go from like a coffee shop type of thing, and then they come into the workplace and they start throwing things, and they get mad to pick up their check, and they're just mad, furious that they got fired.
Right.
And you find out the truth, what happened, or at least like supposed truth, what was the reason they got terminated, and it's because they didn't show up for work. They're mad they got put on schedule. It's like, don't you know that you get put on schedule when you have a job?
Yeah.
Especially if it's a rotational schedule, and instead of communicating and like talking it all out or working hard, it was like they work there 3 months and they get ticked off and they start doing, it's like 3 months, you know? And then and that just shows your cards, man. Like that should be a red. So if you're listening, I mean, like that should be a red flag. If you're wanting to potentially date someone and you find out like they can't even hold down a job and they've got some, like, just stay away from them. I mean, more than likely, there's some toxic deal. I am a big believer, like you mentioned earlier, about old boy look like a thug. He looks like a punk. I don't know if you guys can Google the situation in Grovetown, but he's just like a punk, and I just call it like I see it. I mean, I even threw out this other day with a bunch of young people. They were talking to me about my daughter. She's in middle school. She's a teenager, and she when could she date? And I said, well, you know, honestly, I joke around and say that she can't date till she's old, but we won't let her date or even any of that circles until she's 16. And that's just kind of like will be our kind of standard rule. I said, but I'm not going to let some boy wearing his hat, I don't know if you could see me, but, you know, they wear their little hat up, the little teenage boys, they wear the little hat up, or they wear it backwards, but it's like barely on their head. And they're just like, I'm like, you know, I call that, you know, the DB look. And so the douchebag look. And so I am not going to allow, I just don't. And I work with athletes. I'm in the school, everything. I'm like, the large majority. I mean, like if I run into 20 people wearing hats like that, there may be 1 out of 20 that, yes, sir, no, sir, that has manners, that looks me in the eye, that shakes my hand, or even gives me a fist bump, that really can carry a conversation with an adult. 1 out of 20. The odds are not in their favor. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, because what we have learned at our stage in life is the thing that influences that look that you're going for, something influenced that. You didn't just go, I'm going to wear my hat like this.
100%.
You saw it somewhere, and what is influencing the look is also going to influence the attitude, the mentality towards women, the mentality towards life. And, so like it's a reflection of what's influencing you. And so that's why you can judge in that case somewhat a book by its cover to go, not that you know that for sure, because we don't know an individual, but the higher chance of that person being like the other people influencing that look is going to be more likely. Yeah. And so, show respect for yourself if you're going to want any interest in
it's a job interview.
Daughter. Yeah.
It's a job interview. I mean, you know how it is. Like if I was a surgeon, you mean to come in with my hat like, what's up, guys? We're going to like, you could be as polished, but it doesn't work that way. It's a job interview. I remember walking into Bilo, the first job I ever had a job interview because we did construction work as a kid. I remember going in and I had to talk to them, which I knew how to do, and I was very presentable. I even wore a tie and I came in and sat down and did the job interview and got the job and knew how to act like a fool around my buddies, but knew how to act right in front of people. And so it's a job interview. If you're going to date my daughter, like, bro, I need to see something. You know what I mean? I need to see, respect, looking somebody in the eye and all that. But if you're not caring and, it's just going to send me. It's just a job interview. And so it's not a job. It's a date interview.
Yeah, my grandma told me it does not matter what the job is. Always dress up, wear a tie to an interview.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter because it sets you apart from the other people being interviewed. And so those things are taught. Once again, you have fun with your friends and stuff like that, but you know when to.
That's right.
Be presentable. Step it up. Be respectful and things like that. And this Donald Beck, if anybody wants to search Donald Beck on the video, I'll put his photo just so people can see. But sad to see that. But on the other end, like the video I sent, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. I
did.
The guy that was a hero from Subway, a lady being assaulted. He stepped in. Apparently, he was like a high school wrestler and took the guy to the ground, pinned him until he, was able to. The police was able to get there and arrest the guy. They said he gets a free sub anytime he comes in. I'd be there every day.
That's right, bro.
My diet's now going to be a Subway sub every day.
It was funny that I saw a tweet about the Subway said, Subway gave us permission to eat a loaf of bread every time we sat down. So.
His name was Gabriel Pizzulo. And at the end of his interview, what was so cool was he was saying he did not consider himself to be a hero. Obviously, that's just something you do. And gave all glory to God that he was not only there, but able to, have the capability of subduing the guy. He gave all glory to God. And so, we just want to give a shout out to Gabriel. He could listen, who knows? But he... is a reflection of what a true man should do when you see someone vulnerable, stepping in and helping.
He was eating, Nicholas, a sweet onion chicken teriyaki.
Okay. Take the onion off and it'll be great.
Man, add extra onions for me, for your boy. Yeah, he said.
So if we were there together, I'd say you can give him my onions.
That's right. Extra onions for your boy. Yeah, man. And he was phenomenal.
We're just not eating a salad together.
Won't eat the salad. Listen, as long as it has chicken on it, we straight.
Monty sitting there trying to poke the bear by saying
he's getting on.
I was upset because having to share you with him now. And I was like, look, when Shane and I go to eat lunch, we don't eat salads. We feast on barbecue. So
that was so funny.
Good try there, Monty.
Man, how's Monty? Monty, I hadn't seen that.
Doing good. He's I won't give his public business out, but he's had a pretty major transition as of April 1st in his life. And so once we get him here, he can share all that.
Yeah,
we need
dude.
to interview him.
Man, we got to get him.
Gary Slater.
Which
and
Gary
my
buddy Wes Sullivan. We gotta
Yes.
get Wes. So that's 3.
And the football, the football
boys,
guys.
the boys, yeah. They keep bugging me. So like, we got to get them. Bugging is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's Elijah, Ethan, and Wesley.
Yeah, Wesley, I met him at Chick-fil-A and super guy. And he was like, man, we're, showing doubt that they were ever going to get on here. I said, we'll get you on here. Gary is going to be starting Gary Slater. He is going to be starting a podcast, or he's exploring it. So I've been talking with him. And so it'd be great to get him on, as he kind of has some definitive, so we can kind of help push people there, because what he has to offer is going to be phenomenal and fit right in with the Male Cartel stuff.
Boom.
So other than that, I know we've got some things we're going to talk about today. I'll just give a shout out. Also, the #1 podcast in our episode, or our category of philosophy, which once again, we've ranked as high as 47 in the nation, which is cool. Of course, I draw a blank. Sean Ryan, he is the #1 guy, and I was telling you how I don't feel bad about our episodes being a little bit longer like they are. Some of his episodes are 2, 3, 4, pushing right at 5 hours, but they're long form kind of interviews, and these guys are all special forces. Navy SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets. I mean, these are like the warriors of the United States. These are the elite fighters, and some of the stories they have are just amazing. They start from their childhood, and he talks to them, and they share some of their missions. So if people are looking for a podcast to listen to, one episode may take you all week, because you're not sitting there for 5 hours, but it's worth listening to it in segments. But as well, so I saw on Easter Sunday, Sean, I've kind of seen some of his journey. Not too long ago, he was talking about looking forward to Jesus' return, and you go, okay, is this a guy of faith? I had not listened to any of his podcasts yet. Well, Sunday he posted how he and his wife got baptized, and so he's sharing his faith, and so it's really cool. Some of the people he's had on there talking about how they did all these various different things after being in war, dealing with PTSD, and how none of those pursuits satisfied them, but it took Jesus and that relationship with Jesus. So great podcast. I don't know how many episodes there are, but it's called Sean Ryan, The Sean Ryan Show. Several people may already be familiar with it, but if you're into man stuff, like Male Cartel, but also like war type things, like I've always been with Rambo, things like that.
Military.
I think you'll enjoy the Sean Ryan Show.
Man, y'all check it out. I just started listening to it because Nick put me on it, so I was like,
I got 5 hours to
because I'm in the boat with you. Like, I really enjoy, and I think our listeners are as well, at least the majority of them, I think, are where you listen to a podcast and as you're traveling, and that's what I do, and then I'll hit play and go back to it when I'm back in my car,
right?
And then I'm usually can't wait to get in my car. When before I was listening to podcasts like 3 years ago, I didn't, I was listening to music or making phone calls the whole time. Now I really enjoy getting in my car and go, oh yeah, here's a podcast. Or on long trips, I just stack up. I'll save. I'll kind of put them in a little bunch, and then I go, I got to listen to these two. Oh man, that's so good.
And I was driving to Greensboro, North Carolina, where I was like, well, I'll listen to one. It was about 2.5 hours. That trip was about 3.5. So I had enough time to listen to about an episode and a half.
Yeah.
Because the next one I started listening to was longer. So, I got a good bit in.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of come back to this on our topic today. If you want to introduce it when
sure.
Catch you while you're yawning off camera.
I've been up for a while. I woke up middle of the night with a headache, and I've done it for the last 2 nights. And so I'm battling some type of, I forgot what it's called, but
I had one yesterday.
When you have a migraine, it's not technically a migraine, but it wakes you up in the middle of the night. It can last between 15 and a few hours, 15 minutes. And so anyway, sorry for yawning. So we're going to talk through like our top 5 leadership, principles and leadership. And so Nick and I are both, we love leadership. We want to be growing leaders. I forgot the Greek word for that. It's like arete, arete or something like that. That just means growing. And so like elite leaders. And so we're always growing, and our leadership wants to be better. That's something we say a lot, like 1% better. And we're lead, teams, and we actually were talking about leading teams earlier before we were off air. I was just about how some people just can't lead a team. And you've had people with you in your life as well as me that just can't even lead a team, dude. You can't even get it together. And we can sum that back to they're just a poor leader, man.
Yeah.
They don't care about that. So we just thought that we can give some good leadership, some like our top 5 each, and just kind of talk through it. I'm a simplest guy, and so usually I'm like, here's what I believe, boom, and I just leave it as. And so I'm just gonna, and I think we can just bounce it off each other. And then if you have your 5, and if it runs together, then that's awesome. But I just wrote down, my leadership 101, and it's something that I keep in my bag. But I put great leaders give clear direction. That was my number 1, was like great leaders give clear direction. And so when you want to be a good leader, you've got to clean up your communication. When you give a direction, when you give a vision for something, it needs to be clear. And so sometimes what we can do is the problem could be that sometimes we can talk a whole lot and can confuse the person. I'm notorious for that, just because I tell stories and be like, so what were we talking about in the first place? And especially if I enjoy the company that I'm keeping, I can do that. If I really don't enjoy the company, so if you're listening to me and I'm really quick with you, it doesn't mean I don't enjoy you, but give clear direction.
Yeah.
And so there's that phrase that says clarity is kindness. And so I think that is one of the best things that you can do. Clear any military strategy, game plan, sports, you look at everything, it's very clear. And so, that means that we got to really think through what we say and how we say it. And we got to answer the who, what, when, where, and how, and get it in 140 characters. Not really, but you got to make it short enough. What do you think about that statement?
I completely agree. And I would say that it goes back to one of the things, and I didn't add it here. In fact, mine is not necessarily my top 5 because of the time I had yesterday. I did the top 5 that were on the top of my mind.
That's good.
But part of what I was thinking through, and I didn't make it really in the list, is, you have to not only, in an organization, if you're a leader, God's obviously given you a vision for something. It could be for your family, could be for an organization. And I do mention one aspect of this, but you have to be able to clearly communicate that and not just the what. And that's easy. Hey, I need you to do this. Our children have taught us that people are naturally wired to want to know why. Why? And we'll just go, because I told you to. Well, that doesn't work the older we get, and with different generations, but it's poor leadership because, John Maxwell talks about the lowest form of leadership is essentially, I got this title. So I'm the pastor, or I'm the CEO, or I'm the owner. And so that's the lowest form to go, I've hired you, so you have to do this because that's what I hired you to do, versus giving the vision behind it. And I'll see this in various different organizations. I'll see it in the church oftentimes where people, they want to push people to a certain agenda, but they're not clear on the vision. They're not clear on communicating, this is what we're trying to accomplish and this is why we're doing it. And that why motivates people. Simon Sinek, or however you pronounce his name. Yeah, he I think he's the one that introduced, start with the why, and I think that's very important, being very clear, being very concise, not making it too complicated. And I think that takes you a long way. So as a leader, absolutely. And I had wrote that down as you were saying that, clarity is kindness. Yeah. It's being kind to people and not confusing them. So
yeah. What you got? What's one on you?
First one I wrote down was, basically being a person, being a man, being a woman of integrity. Which means I was talking to our team about this the other day. You go first. By us going first, it's hard for, and I'm not picking on producer Corell, but this is the example I gave in our staff meeting. He works with our family ministries. He works with like our students. And so he can give theory on being a parent to a teenager. He can say what the Bible talks about in being a parent to a teenager, but he really can't go, this is how you need to parent, because which none of us really can. We can go from our own experiences, but all of our children are different. But being a person of integrity is, I'm going to teach from experience. I've gone first. I'm going to blaze the path. I'm going to go first so that I give you the gift of going second. You follow. You get to follow me. So I'm going to get my hands dirty. I'm going to go through the difficulty of things. I'm going to go first. And so, like with our church, I planted a church with about 37 people. We were all, volunteers. So why can I ask people to volunteer for something? Because I've volunteered for like 2 years before I got any pay, because we didn't have a lot of money. And so I sacrificed on the front end. And so I have no really, I have nothing withholding me from asking people to volunteer, because I've gone first. I've done it first. And then also, we then do what we expect. So if I ask people to be generous, as we talked about in the last episode, I've got to be generous.
Yeah.
We see the parents who tell kids don't smoke while they got a cigarette in their hand.
They lighten it
Don't
up.
use this language, but yet they're cursing or using, vile language. And so it's just doing what you expect and then doing what you say you're going to do. I believe all that's wrapped up in integrity. If I say I'm going to do this, I'm going to find a way. If I have to work late, if I have to, sacrifice in some way, if I say I'm going to do something, integrity is I'm going to do it. I'm going to make sure it happens. And I see that a lot of times with leaders. I've even had one here lately that, within the last several months, say certain things, and then on the back end, like didn't do any of what was said, and it's like, that's not integrity. But then wanting to move to a different organization in a leadership capacity, and it's like, but you haven't even done what you said here. You've not even fully fulfilled what you committed to or what you said. So I think being a person of integrity, if you're going to be a leader, is vital.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that speaks my language, dude. That's like my MO. That's easier, I guess, for me to think about that. But like raising my children, that's something I definitely want for them, for sure. And then for the athletes, and that you always love it when the young man, you see like videos where after a game he's picking up the trash in the stadium type of thing. And so I just had this conversation with my kid last week. We're setting up for Easter, and we had to create like kind of an overflow with more chairs. And then I had our residents and our guy, my Avery and my Chase, they set up the worship deal. And then I came into the church on Thursday, even though I was off. I still came in church Thursday, even though I was off, because it's my responsibility to make sure that is done correctly. So I trust my guys, but I came in that morning, went and worked out, came in, and then buttoned it all up, moved more chairs around, situated, got to where I felt like this looks top notch. And then I ran into our executive pastor, and then we were having a conversation, and then went to leave, and then we decided, so I was there, so we might as well just put up all our little flag banners. And so, because we had purchased some, and so we went out and placed them where we wanted them and all that. And basically, I worked a few hours, but that's my responsibility.
Yeah.
And so, even though I gave it to someone, I came back by to make sure it was done and make sure it was buttoned up. But I've been there at the church, like you're saying. I always have to go, but you feel responsible. And but what I'm trying to say is, my kid was asking me about it. Oh, they thought I was off. And I told him what happened. And I said, but Daddy's responsible for it. So Daddy need to make sure that it's done.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you get somebody else to do it? And I said, yes, but I still am responsible for it. My name is still attached to it. So Daddy still has to make sure Daddy's not too good for it. Daddy has to go do it. You understand? And my son was like, oh, okay, I see. And I said, yeah, right. And then they were like, yes. And we just talked out further, but I want my boys to be men of integrity and character. So I 100% agree. My second one is, great leaders don't settle for average. super easy, but I think we live in a world of averages. And I think that there's a lot of different things that go along with that. And there's a lot of like mental state and post-COVID, and there's things that we deal with currently that we haven't dealt with before, that because of the pandemic and other things as well. But I think there's a settlement of average of just, but I think if you want to be a great leader, there cannot be average. There can't be. And if you're settling for average, you're not a great leader. You can scratch off great, and what you probably can put is an average leader.
Yeah.
And average leaders will give average results. There will always be this like weight and tension and a lack of fulfillment, and there's always like the reach for the, what we, lack of better terms, like the next level or moving your business or ministry, whatever is down the road. Like it will feel so far away because your average is way below good, and good is below great, and so it seems like out of reach. And the reason is because you decided that you were cool with being average, and so doing just enough to get by. And I think that is pathetic at best. And I think if you're a believer of the Bible, you're a Christian. Not cultural Christian, but a biblical Christian, I think that shouldn't even be in your vocabulary. And I think that if that is, I think you're pathetic. And so, that's what I tell myself, Nick. That's what I tell myself all the time. And I try to hold myself accountable. And I hope, you would tell me, you'll hold me accountable. And, if I'm slipping and I just became like plateaued out, I hope that I have good people around me that would say, Shane, dude, you got to tighten up, dude.
Right.
You ain't got to be ugly to me about it, but you can go, man, you got to tighten up. What you think?
Yeah, so I would say also what I've seen with people who settle for average is then they become a victim of their circumstances, and they start looking at, they're not getting the results of what they desire, no matter what realm it's in. And so then they start blaming other people because they're not going to blame themselves because they're not going to call themselves lazy. They're not going to call themselves a slacker. And so now it's someone else's problem, someone else's fault, the economy or this organization, this person who hurt me, whatever. And so now you're stuck in that kind of, cycle of blaming other people, but staying average rather than finding a way out of it. We have a core value here that for our leadership team called fill it to the brim. And we never settle for good enough. We always strive for excellence. We will not reach perfection, but we can strive for excellence. And with that, we always have to evaluate, did what we did, was it excellent? If not, what did we miss? Where did we miss the mark? What can we improve on? But also, if we did do something and we felt like it was excellent and it went well, what did we do in order to achieve that? We have to look at that. And I don't think we always do a really good job of that. And that can be a problem. From my own perspective as a leader, is because then we are always just looking at the negative of what didn't get us to excellence, but what did get us to excellence. And I've learned that that's something I have to learn to put into practice better. But we never settle for just good enough, because then that's the lazy way out. That's not doing all things to the glory of God. And just like in the gym, if you feel like you have, if you just stick with average, like, okay, I can do this easily, you're not making gains, you're not making any improvement. And so you're just doing what comes easy, and then you're not going to have any growth. Then you're going to get frustrated, and that's when you typically throw your hands up and go, what good is this doing? Well, you stuck with what came easy.
That's right. The excellence is doing the best you can with what you got.
Exactly.
That's excellent. Go.
The second one I've got is be teachable and always grow.
Oh, yeah.
Utilize, we as we were talking about, we can utilize the free time that we have driving, going in between places to listen to podcasts, to, find opportunities to grow, but also having that mentality of I've not arrived. And there's always something for me to learn, always something to grow. Just like earlier, before we got on the podcast, you were sharing some things that you have done or would do in building a team and kind of championing them and kind of celebrating them. And those are ideas that we can implement, that we can learn from. But if I take the mentality that I'm the guru and that I'm the expert, and because of this experience or this, job that I've had, that I'm better than everybody else, then I'm not going to be able to lead other people, but also I can't lead myself anymore. I can't progress anymore. I'm a part of a family of churches called Hope Church. We have 14, I think it is, locations. And so there are guys that have churches that are much smaller than ours, some that are larger than ours. And as I was expressing to them last week, I can grow from every one of them, because you can lose the days that you were in that church planting phase where you would be more creative and do things because you gotta. And then now you can get settled and we got a building and we've got all this stuff. And yet I can still learn from those guys. I can learn from people who are well beyond me.
Oh, yeah.
And so being teachable, realizing that I've not, arrived.
Well, dude, it's funny you say it because 10 years ago, I remember I felt like I was terrible at leading teams. And you know what I did? I went online and went on to the on the line and went on to the Googles and I actually went to a seminar. I went to like a webinar deal and I was just sorry. It was all about
a random
volunteers.
webinar.
It was like it was random, dude. I signed up for it and it was something to do like church ministry volunteers or something. Okay. Better your volunteers or how to recruit volunteers. And I remember it was like a 50-minute webinar deal. Went on, logged in. They send you the link and you go and you watch all this. And that was one thing they were talking about. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to try that. And it was like just to gather information. And I was like, okay, cool. And I feel like I had a hard time casting the net. I mean, it's almost like when I take boys fishing and you teach them for an hour how to take the fishing pole and then sling it out to your spot versus getting it all knotted up and everything else. And I felt like I had a hard time doing that and I felt once I have leaders, I'm good at like keeping it mobilized and keeping it going. But as far as like teams, not leader teams, but like I just always had a hard time with that. Different strategies. And so I've employed, but I've learned a lot just because I just, like I said, learn. I see something and go, hey man, I really need to, like, how do y'all do it? Like, how do y'all, like, just what you're saying? Because you're like, man, you haven't arrived. I feel more dated and out of touch with things currently than I ever have in my life. I think when I was younger, I thought I knew a few things, and I thought that I knew everything. When you're young, there's the sense of arrogance, and now I'm like, I don't even know, how to lead these people. I'm just doing the best I can, and God's honoring it, but I'm giving all I got, But yeah, I agree, 100% what you're saying.
People change with every generation too.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely has. Moving on, great leaders communicate expectations. Give clear direction is one, but I put communicate expectations. So when you're leading a team, explain to them the expectations for whatever job, whatever role you're given to them. Sometimes what we do is we can, and I've seen this happen millions of times. There's like hidden expectations for certain things. It's not clear, but we just don't communicate sometimes expectations. People might come in and then I've seen poor leaders just assume
People know,
that people know, and they don't know. And then next thing you know, this is all this unrest, and so it needs to be clear expectations. So sometimes I'll give an expectation, or I'll talk about this is what I expect, and then I'll say, what did you hear me say? Just so that I know that, and then they go, okay, they are hearing me correctly. But I thought that's pretty good. Communicate expectations. That's probably more from my experience over all the years of ministry, and then even working with sports and coaching. There's a lot of expectations that are not, people have put on expected, but they've never given you the expectations. It's like hidden expectations, and you're like, no wonder we have this like tension because I don't know what you expect from me. You never given to me, so like I'm just kind of like freestyling it on my own. And then I feel like there's a lack of joy in what I'm doing because I don't know if I am doing what, say, Nick wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And so we just need to talk it out, what the expectation is, because, there are some people that want to do a good job, And so, yeah, what do you think about that?
I would also say a good leader will, so let's just say you're in an environment where the expectations you don't feel like they're clearly communicated, but you're also a leader. I think a good leader also seeks to discover what those expectations are, which goes back into having, and I'm mentioning this as well,
leading up, dude.
Leading up. And there's a book about, leading from the middle or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just having conversation. I am shocked at how many people claim to be leaders or just men. I mean, we're talking about, this is a man's podcast, just men who won't have those courageous conversations. And so I think that goes both ways. Yeah. One, yes, it's our expectation. I've fallen into that trap as a pastor. Even you start communicating to a congregation and with almost like this expectation that everybody's a follower of Jesus. We forget there could be some people who don't know what you're talking about. So, not assuming that they know what you're talking about and kind of maybe helping lead some of those people along with you. And so I think having that mindset of remembering not everybody, but I think with the more experience we have, we forget that because we think everybody knows what we know and they don't. And so I completely agree with that. I would add on mine, was this the fourth one? Or third one?
Third one.
Be careful who you surround yourself with.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about a captain on a ship, it takes one person to lead a mutiny. And one bad apple can cause a lot of damage. It's like a lot of people say, if I were to, take maybe a thing of apples, we'll use that as an example, and I put poison into one, and then I mixed it in, are you going to eat any of those apples? One poisonous apple, one bad apple can disrupt an entire organization. And as many people say, I've heard many leadership coaches, many people that I've sat under, many people that I've learned under that will say hire slowly and fire quickly. Oh, yeah. Well, why is that? One, you want to hire slowly so that you realize that this could be volunteers. This could be in a situation where you're recruiting volunteers, where you want to make sure they fit the culture. You want to make sure their character is what aligns with your organization. You want to make sure they have the chemistry that works with the team. You want to make sure they are who they say they are. See them experience some like tension, moments of tension. How do they respond? Oh, yeah. How do they react? And so give yourself time to get to know people, even if you feel like you already know them. But then fire quickly, because if that person is the bad apple, if they're causing disruption and they won't take leadership, they won't change, they won't improve, then you want to remove that from the organization. You want to remove that from whatever you're leading, because they could cause a disruption. They could send you in the wrong direction. And so, this is good for us as parents in raising our children. We can't do anything about our children. They're either you're surrounded with them, but you can teach them, as we were talking about the guy with the hat that looks like a DB, making sure who they surround themselves with. And we do have control over that while they live in our house to go, sorry, you can't hang out with them.
That's right.
Sorry, you can't be around them. So I think it's very important who we surround ourselves with, because that's going to help you as a leader, or it's going to really hinder you as a leader.
Bro, I got nothing else to add to that. Nick just killed it. I'm about to take up an offering in a minute. Carell, I need about $5, bro.
He's the only one in we can collect an offering from. We take Apple Pay too.
Apple Pay, we do that. Not the rotten apple, but the good one. Great leaders inspire others to be great leaders. Great leaders inspire others to be great leaders. Very similar to what you just said. I'm just thinking from leadership standpoint that great leaders inspire others to be great leaders. So because that great leader is, that's verbal and nonverbal. And so the nonverbal, they have character. They're trustworthy. They've built up an equity within their organization or your whatever, So think about everything you're doing as compounding interest. And so you're building up equity. And then because you're doing this, then whatever you say, you're giving clear expectations, and you're showing, hey, you're not the smartest one in the room, and if you are, you need to find a different room. And, and you're showing all these things. That's naturally going to inspire others to go, man. And I think that we should all want to be people who want to inspire others to be bigger than themselves, and like to not just chase the win, but to chase whatever greatness looks to you. So like for me, greatness is literally just me being authentically me and all the things that I do, And for me raising a good home, I consider me being great, very rich, if I am raising my family correctly and I'm giving all I got. And then everything that I'm involved with, that I give it 100%. That's how I define me being great. If I give 100% in all the things that I do, I feel like I'm great, no matter what the outcome looks like. That doesn't even concern me. What concerns me is me giving everything I got to something and being authentically me while I'm doing it. And I think because, I trust the word, and I believe that God would honor that. And however that looks like for him, because it's all for him. But I think great leaders inspire others to be great leaders. And we've all had leaders where they don't bring any inspiration at all. They just bring, wherever they walk around, it's kind of like the old Peanuts cartoon where you had a old boy, who was the dusty kid? He always had a cloud of dust. Pigpen. Yeah, Pigpen. Thanks, Corell. Producer Corell. Pigpen. Everywhere he went, he had a cloud of dust with him.
I always call them Eeyores.
Eeyores?
From, Winnie
you
the
just
Pooh.
see them all just coming in. You're like, oh my word! It just follows them into the room, man. They don't inspire. They're just like they're a drag. I want people galvanized when they come into a meeting. They're excited. They don't go, oh, we got a meeting with if your people are doing that to you, then you've got to change that culture. It starts with you. What you got?
Yeah, and I think God has set that culture in motion from parenting all the way into our following Jesus. It's about making, in Christianity, we call it making disciples.
Yeah.
You're not going to make disciples if you're not inspiring them. Like if you're that, woe is me, Eeyore, no one's going to want to be around you. If you are not, what John Maxwell calls it the law of attraction. Like if you're not attractive to people, they're not gonna.
Well, you are attractive though.
Well,
Nick.
Not physically, but
physically.
Physically
that picture
too
with
helps,
you and Monty, that
brush your teeth, comb your hair if you got some. If not, shine the top,
ball.
whatever.
Yep.
My fourth one is have standards. You have to stand for something as a leader, and then I also just typed a little note here. It says, have your own standards and values. You can't steal someone else's.
Ooh.
And so I've literally seen people who'll just rip off other organizations, core values or whatever. If they fit you and you believe in them, hey, that's cool. Or, update the wording, whatever. We got ours from an organization, from a church that we were closely aligned with. And so why reinvent the wheel? But we also weren't just looking for something we could grab and just make our own. I've seen people go to conferences and literally measure off auditoriums. Like they're going to go back and build that. And it's like, you don't know who attends that church, what kind of money they have. Like you're just coming in thinking that if you put this in place, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And that is a movie. That's not real life.
Yep.
And so I have seen people who will listen to someone's conviction about something, or hey, this is what I would do, type mentality, and then turn and kind of go do that. Well, it's not successful, and it never will be because it didn't come from you.
Yeah.
And so what is it that you stand for? What is it that is your values? Those are the things that need to govern you. As the old song from Aaron Tippin says, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. We all have to stand for something, but it needs to come from the core of who we are, because that's what's going to lead you to stand firm. And so as a leader, you have to stand for something. I've seen, leaders who are people pleasers, and they're wishy-washy, and they're saying one thing to one group of people, one thing to another, and it causes nothing but chaos and conflict and difficulty. And then you become that person once again with no integrity.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have something you're standing on, then no one can trust you. And if no one can trust you, they're not going to follow you. Leadership comes from a place of trust. I trust this individual, so I'm going to follow them. So I think having standards of your own that you think through, that you take time, that's where you can't be lazy. You have to go, what do I believe in? What do I stand for? And then that's what you're leading other people to as well as a leader. This is what we stand for. This is what we're going to value. This is what we're going to all together head towards as people or as an organization. So,
dude, I had 5 people come to my mind as you were talking about this immediately. Not putting any dirty laundry out, but I had 5 people immediately come to my mind. And I even had me in my early days in ministry, over 2 decades ago, and you're a youth guy and you're trying to like figure this is a long time ago before like Apple phones and stuff. And I just remember, somebody inspired me, and then you copied and think it was going to work. And then what happens there, it doesn't, it's like putting about a gallon of gas in your car. It fizzles out. Then that person, and if this could be you listening, then you do the same thing. You copy something else. Didn't birth from you. It birthed from someone else's vision, their calling on their life. They do it. You do it, copy theirs, and then it fizzles out. And then people like that, I can look at people currently that I know of that they know they have ripped off other things, and it has fizzled out.
Yep.
And so,
because for some people, it's just maybe an escape, or it's just the next thing, trying to achieve some greatness or something.
That's 100%, dude. And and I've had people apologize to me over the years of ripping things off of things I've said and a lot of stuff. And that at that time I was like, would be not being friends with them. So it like hurt my feelings. Like, honestly, I'm a dude, so I have feelings, but they hurt my feelings. And you to go, I get over it quick, but initially when it hits you, like, man, why didn't they just ask me? And then they rip it off, and then just watch, a year by that it phases out. Yeah. And then they go on to somebody else's stuff. And I'm cool with them today, but you just kind of go, man, this is crazy. My last thing is easy. I don't have even anything to say on it. But because I think it speaks for itself. Great leaders, I want you to hear this out. Great leaders are not lazy. Great leaders are not lazy. And
I thought you were going to say that second time you were repeating it. Great lazies aren't leaders.
Oh, great lazy. Yeah, feel great lazy. Yeah. So that's it, man. I ain't got nothing else. I just think that you want to say anything about that, or you want to go into your last one?
I wonder if lazy people know they're lazy.
Dude, I think lazy people will lay in bed at night and they know how they are, but they try hard to justify. Man, I have this illness, or I have this thing that's happening, and I have this thing. Yeah. They're using it, trying to make a bridge that allows them to, an excuse to allow them to be lazy. And I think that there probably are people, there's probably some type of scientific study or some kind of like broad stat that was done, but I would say there are probably some that are clueless, but I would say the majority, they know. They just choose to justify. And I know too many brothers, too many dudes that have been our friends over all the years, that will sit and have not a pity party, but have an honest conversation about how this, and this, and this, and then all you're seeing is you just look at the brother and you go, bro, I just think you got to like stop being lazy, make it happen.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay, and then they
continue
to be lazy. You're just like, but that's not calling them out. It's just that we've had these honest conversations, The
only thing that pops in my mind, and I've said this before, and I guess that's why it's on the top of my mind. This is why I am very cautious. And I hate talking about the importance of rest and the importance of in ministry putting family first, because I've seen people take that to the extreme, and it's like, I'm exhausted. I need to rest. And it's like, oh, you had a busy week. It's like. A busy year, but it's like when you're lazy, it doesn't take much to wear you out.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're looking for the next 2 or 3 days to take a break and rest, or the ministry should never be in, come before family. Absolutely. But family can't also hinder ministry. There has to be a balance there. And so I'm very cautious with that, because I've seen that taken advantage of and gone to the extreme.
Oh, yeah.
My final one, talking about ripping people off, I learned this from someone. I wouldn't even say that this is, like a principle. It just, like I said, it came off the top of my mind when we were talking about this. Bajers Killian mentions this oftentimes, being a savage servant. And I believe as men, but also as leaders, that breaks down into this very quickly, because I know we're out of time, but that's serving. You know, serving is not just for those who answer to us, our team members, our volunteers, but it is for us to demonstrate, to go first, because there's ethics in serving. There's value in serving. So we find opportunities to serve, whether it's seen or unseen. We're all called to be servants. And it's not just something we ask people to do, but it's something we do as well, because there is something valuable there, especially in our faith as followers of Jesus. We're called to serve the least of these. So that's the servant side. And then the savage side is having those courageous conversations, being men and confronting issues, but also when there's a problem, taking those problems to that brother and going, hey, I have an issue with you. I'm not clear on this. You know, I feel this certain way, and talking those things out. And then that also means being mean about the vision. So if God has given you a vision for an organization, for a church, for your family, it's being mean, not in like angry mean, but it's being like, hey, I'm going to be consistent on this. We're not swaying from this. And that's why I think it's important, all that we've talked about, clearly communicating who you surround yourself with. People might try to change that vision. And it's like, no, God gave you that vision. You have to lead it. You have to communicate it. And so being mean about that, and hey, we're not going to change. We're going to stay the course. And so I think both being a servant, but also being savage in the sense of I'm not going to back down from the hard things and get my hands dirty is one of the hallmarks of being a good leader.
Dude, I agree, man, 100%. I mean, I think I'm a big believer in servant leadership. You know, we always want to chase to get to the top, and I think we should be chasing to get to the bottom.
Do that one more time. Put the camera on him.
Yeah, like a triangle. Illuminati. No, I'm not. I like diamond. You know, the diamond cutter off of wrestling. Diamond. You guys, DDP. That's who did it. So I don't know what Nick is trying to do, but you know. But I agree 100%.
This has been a great conversation. I've learned from Shane today, and
I've learned from you.
It's been inspirational, and so I hope it has been for you as well. If you've benefited from this or any of our other podcast episodes, we would love for you to share with other people. Thank you so much for the feedback that you consistently give, whether you're sharing it on social media, whether you have rated it or reviewed it on our podcast platforms. Thank you so much. If you would continue to do so, that's how others grow and others learn. We'd love to get this in their hands as well.
Yep. I 100% agree. If you like it, share it. Thank you guys for your support, and we'll see you guys next time.
Absolutely. As leaders, get 1% better every day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining the Male Cartel podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share to help other men join the cartel. You can also keep up with us on social media and at malecartel.com.